So here's the thing. The only reason why anybody even knows about the grounds for Capital One closing these accounts, and this is on page 5, is the following. Capital One has never disclosed the basis for the closure decisions, nor impaired the plaintiff's ability to obtain accounts with other banks, which discovery to date makes clear the plaintiffs were able to do promptly. Indeed, Capital One's decision to close plaintiffs' accounts only became public because of plaintiffs' own decision to pursue this litigation. Again, the cell phone. If Trump and the dumbasses had not decided to sue Capital One, is that grammatically correct? Nobody would ever have known that these accounts were closed at Capital One for anti-money laundering reasons. But of course, the Streisand effect, is it not? We now know that these accounts were closed for anti-money laundering reasons. So now all of us are like, well, what was the money laundering? Like, hey, what kind of suspicious activity was going on with these accounts that Capital One said after months of review and regulatory analysis, they were like, we don't want your business. And context is key, right? Because this is 2021. This guy, Donald Trump, was the 45th president of the United States. And so Capital One said, we don't want the business anymore of the 45th president of the United States, his businesses, his failed sons, and his revocable trust, which, by the way, was holding a lot of, was kind of like the vehicle that was holding like a lot of different assets of Donald Trump. So you can imagine it would suggest, I am just hypothesizing, of course, because I don't know, but it would suggest that whatever Capital One uncovered was pretty bad. Makes you wonder, right?
Nobody self-owns like Donald Trump does. Him pushing this lawsuit is what caused the discovery to come out and caused the public to learn that Capital One, I should say, canceled hundreds of his accounts because of money laundering. He's the reason we know this. But it does beg a few questions out there. What the hell were they doing? What the hell were they doing, the Trumps doing, with these over 300 Capital One accounts that Capital One decided they didn't want their business anymore? And don't give me this bullshit that's for political reasons. It's a fucking bank. Banks want everybody's money, including somebody who's allegedly a billionaire, one of the best businessmen of all time. Really? He can't get a fucking Capital One card. Think about that. The President of the United States can't get a fucking Capital One card. If that's not one of the biggest red flags, financially speaking, I've ever seen, I don't know what is. You're telling me the president can't get what I have in my hand right here? Capital One. Quicksilver One. What the fuck? A simple credit card? The President of the United States, a man who has made over $1 billion in the last year and a half since he's been president, can't get a fucking Capital One card. Yeah, you might be a criminal. You might be crooked as fuck if that's the case.